Hi, welcome to the channel Coder's Arc, where we unravel the world of coding and architecture together. Today, I'm going to talk about top 5 most valuable skills that you need as a software architect in 2024. So let's get started. Now, before I get started, let me talk about why I think I'm qualified enough to talk about this topic. And that's because I'm currently serving as the director of architecture at a Fortune 500 company, and I lead a team of solution architects that are distributed globally and are responsible for the enterprise architecture of the applications. Now, I have more than 17 years of experience in the industry, and I have served various roles like developers, principal engineers, architects, technical architects, enterprise architects, and in my most recent role, I'm serving as the director of architecture. I have seen the industry evolve from old desktop applications to the client server applications to web apps to mobile apps, then the cloud applications, and even within the cloud applications, the whole serverless revolution. And now all of us are talking about the Gen AI framework. And I know for a fact that the industry is going to continue to evolve. And that's why it is very, very important that most of you are at the forefront of these technologies and these trends so that you can accelerate your journey. So, with that said, let's dive into the top 5 trends in 2024. So, the number one skill that you need as a software architect in 2024 is thorough familiarity with the AI ML framework and the Gen AI frameworks within your cloud application space. So, as all of you know that in 2023, there was a lot of apprehension and concern around how the Gen AI frameworks work. But I have observed that in the last 6 months, as an industry, we have become more receptive towards the Gen AI framework, and we also have a much better understanding of how this technology works. So, with that said, all of you must be aware of basic AI ML algorithms like decision trees, random forest, regression algorithms, supervised learning, unsupervised learning, what is fine tuning, what is prompt engineering, what is retrieval augmented generation architecture, what is semantic caching, and some basic things that are needed for an AI ML architect in 2024. The reason is because most of the applications and the most of the new features that are being developed right now, they are leveraging AI capabilities. So if you're not familiar with these technologies, it's definitely going to be detrimental towards your career in 2024. So I encourage you to take some Udemy courses, digital cloud training, some Coursera courses, maybe talk to some AI ML architects, data scientists within your organization and ask them for recommendations. But in general, in 2024, you cannot escape AI, and I encourage all of you to focus on learning Gen AI and the AI ML algorithms as much as you can. Even within the cloud space, for example, in AWS, you must be familiar with SageMaker, how to do prompt engineering using the Bedrock, how to create the models using Bedrock. So get yourself familiarized with these technologies, and it's definitely going to help your career in 2024. So, one last thing I want to mention before I move on to the next topic is that if you are interested in learning about how to implement AI ML technologies and frameworks and services within the AWS cloud, I've done some videos on using SageMaker and how to create and train your models using SageMaker. I've also done some video on how you can implement the retrieval augmented generation architecture using the AWS SageMaker, and also some videos around what are vector embeddings and how to generate vectors and use vectors within the large language models. So feel free to watch those videos. So let's move on to the next point. So the second most important skill that you need as a software architect in 2024 is thorough familiarity of the security architecture within your cloud framework. So, in my observation, security is one of the most challenging tasks for an organization, and it eventually requires the entire organization to make a collective effort to make sure that the security is up to the best practices. And this is where I see the architects playing a very crucial role. So, as an architect in 2024, you must be thoroughly familiar with security at all layers within the organization. So, what this means is that you must implement security at all layers, like the image scanning, the container scanning, the VM scanning, the code scanning, the SAST and DAST tools, the cluster scanning, provision the firewall rules, the network security, which means the security at the instance level, the security at the network access control list layers, firewall rules. Then you must be thoroughly familiar with network security protocols like HTTPS, SSL, TLS, and I've done some videos on that which you can watch. You must also thoroughly understand authentication and authorization concepts and how OAuth 2 OIDC protocol work, how the SAML works, what is single sign-on. This is crucial for all architects and developers to know if you want to accelerate your career. I have observed that most architects and developers understand these concepts very superficially, and I cannot emphasize enough how important it is that you understand these things, because in 2024 the hackers are getting smarter and we have to get smarter too. So this is my emphasis, that please focus on understanding and improving your security skill set. So, the third most important skill that you need as a software architect in 2024 is understanding the data architecture within your organization. So, as an architect in 2024, you must thoroughly understand the database architecture within your organization. You must thoroughly understand what kind of data is stored within your organization. Where is that data stored? What kind of data governance rules you have for your data? What is the data storage strategy? Do you have a data mesh architecture? Do you have a data fabric architecture? Or do you have data lakes? Do you have lake formation? What kind of IAM rules you have to prevent unauthorized access to your data? What is the disaster recovery strategy? What is the RPO? What is the RTO of your data? How do you archive your data? How do you restore your data? Within your industry, what are the specific legal and compliance rules that prevent access to your data? Within your cloud provider, like for me, AWS, you must thoroughly understand what kind of database services you have, like RDS, DynamoDB, NeptuneDB. I'll be making a lot of videos for these in the future, but my whole emphasis is that in 2024, you must thoroughly understand the data architecture skills. So, the fourth most important skill that you need as a software architect in 2024 is familiarity with the network architecture within your organization. As a network architect in 2024, you must be thoroughly familiar with the network architecture within your organization. You must thoroughly understand what regions does your organization do the business in. Do you have any VPCs? What kind of availability zones do you have? Do you have public subnets? Do you have private subnets? What kind of instances you have? What is the security posture within your network layers? Do you have the security groups? Do you have the network access control lists? Do you have the firewall rules? Do you have the WAF? Do you have the CloudFront? Do you have the disaster recovery strategy implemented at all layers? What is the backup strategy? What are the RPO and the RTO requirements within your network layers? How do you achieve connectivity between the on-premise and the cloud servers? Some other things that you must know is what kind of gateways do you have? Do you have NAT gateways? Do you have virtual gateways? Do you have internet gateways? Do you have direct connect? Do you have VPC peering? So all these concepts are extremely important for you to understand as a network architect in 2024 to complete your skill set. And last but not the least, the fifth most important skill that you need as an architect in 2024 is understanding the application architecture of your organization. As an application architect, you need to ask yourself questions like, what kind of interfaces do I have? What kind of APIs do I have? Do I have REST APIs, or do I have WebSocket APIs, or do I have both? Do I have WebSocket APIs for real-time notifications? What kind of frameworks am I using? Do I have the persistence layer, the model layer, the backend core logic implementation layer, the presentation layers? Am I using design patterns in my code? Am I following the solid design principles? Am I using strategies like the CQRS strategies? What kind of unit test coverage you have? What kind of code coverage you have? What is my integration test strategies? What kind of UI frameworks am I implementing in my code? Am I sharing the common code and common libraries throughout my code base? How am I making sure that different development teams are following the same architecture best practices? Also make sure that you are thoroughly designing and documenting your code. You're doing enough POCs. You are sharing your architecture and code and documentation with your peer developers and peer architects on a regular basis. So all of these things are critical for an application architect in 2024. In my personal opinion, most developers end up becoming the application architects. An application architect is the core for the team. The most of the software products, software organizations really rely on application architects to piece everything together. And really, the application architects end up wearing most of those hats, like the network architect, database architect, AI architect, as well as the security architect. So, in my opinion, application architect is one of the most important skill set in 2024, and you must all strive for that. One last thing I wanted to mention before I close this video is that, in my opinion, there is another very important skill set to have in 2024, which is the DevOps, the SaaSOps, or the SRE skill set, which is the site reliability engineer. These folks are already thoroughly familiar with the network architecture, the security architecture, and the data architecture, and they just need to acquire the application architecture and the AI architecture skill set so that they can become future architects. So, in my opinion, these are the 5 most important and critical skill set that you need in 2024 to advance your career as a software architect. So, if you found the value in this content useful, please hit the subscribe and the like button, and also let me know in the comment section what other videos you would like to see next. Goodbye for now.